Joe Rogan has heard it all: flat earth theories, psychedelic revelations, political rants, and mind-bending conspiracies. He's hosted guests like Alex Jones, Kanye West, and Elon Musk without flinching. So when Joe Rogan suddenly ended an interview with Mel Gibson, fans were stunned. Was it a joke? A glitch? A scheduling issue? If you look closely at the moment it happened, his tone, the eye contact, the tension in his posture, it was clear. Rogan had enough. Most people didn't catch it at first. On the surface, the conversation with Gibson seemed like any other deep dive. Stories about acting, faith, and Hollywood. But the atmosphere shifted fast when Mel veered into dangerous territory. And when he doubled down instead of pulling back, Rogan did something rare. He shut it down. There wasn't a fight, no shouting, just an awkward pause. And then the conversation was over. So what did Mel Gibson say that made Rogan, the king of long-form conversation, end the discussion early? Was it about cancer cures, the Vatican, or something darker, something that even Rogan knew couldn't go unchecked? Let's rewind the tape and break down the moment Joe Rogan finally drew a line in the sand. Mel Gibson isn't exactly new to controversy. For decades, he's been a lightning rod, praised for his talent, questioned for his beliefs, and known for speaking his mind no matter the cost. So when he appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience, fans expected a few bold statements. But what they got was something else entirely. At first, it was classic Mel, reflective, intense, unfiltered. He spoke about Hollywood, the state of the world, and his personal faith. But then the energy shifted. Suddenly, Gibson wasn't just sharing opinions. He was making medical claims, hinting at conspiracies, and diving into theological territory that even made Rogan hesitate. Here's the theory. Rogan didn't end the interview because he disagreed. He ended it because Mel went too far too fast, mixing unverified science, religious fervor, and global conspiracy in a way that crossed Rogan's usually wide threshold for let them speak. This wasn't cancel culture. It wasn't censorship. It was self-preservation. Joe knows the weight his platform carries. If someone says something potentially harmful or legally risky, especially on a topic like cancer treatment or religion, he could pay the price, not just in headlines, but in real-world consequences. And Mel Gibson? He didn't read the room. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. Either way, the moment got too hot, too fast, and Rogan made the rare choice to pull the plug. It started with Gibson talking about a friend. Harmless enough, but as he went on, the conversation took a sharp turn. Gibson claimed that this friend had been written off by doctors, only to make a miraculous recovery using ivermectin and fenbendazole, two drugs not approved for cancer treatment. Now, this isn't the first time someone on Rogan's show has brought up alternative medicine. But what made this moment different was how hard Mel pushed the narrative. He didn't just share it as a personal anecdote, he said it with certainty. The pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you to know, he warned. They'll bury this. Rogan, known for being open to alternative views, immediately tightened up. He pressed gently. Do you have any studies or sources on that? A classic Rogan move, challenge without confrontation. Gibson didn't back down. He doubled down. You don't need a study when you see someone rise out of a death sentence, he snapped. And just like that, the tone of the interview changed. This wasn't curiosity anymore. It was belief clashing with broadcast responsibility. Viewers noted a distinct energy shift. Rogan leaned back, arms folded. He was disengaging. Not because he was offended, but because he saw where this was going. The kind of viral moment that could become a lawsuit. Whether it was genuine concern or self-protection, Rogan started slowly shutting the conversation down. Joe Rogan has mastered the art of steering a conversation. When things get intense, he's known to lean into questions like, "Where'd you hear that?" or "Is that proven?" It's how he lets people speak freely without fully endorsing them. But during this episode, even his usual methods weren't working. Mel Gibson was too locked in, too impassioned. After the cancer cure discussion, Gibson shifted gears to his distrust of the medical system and then, out of nowhere, elites and hidden agendas. Rogan tried to soften the edges. "That's a lot to unpack," he said. "Let's bring it back to your movie." But Gibson wasn't having it. He continued on, speaking about lies the public eats up and referencing things going on behind closed doors. That's when it happened. Rogan's demeanor changed. His posture stiffened. His eyes flicked toward his producers. There was no blow-up, no yelling, just a quick pivot. "Man, this has been a wild ride," Rogan said with a chuckle that didn't quite reach his eyes. "We'll have to pick this up another time." No outro, no final summary, just a quick thank you and cut. It wasn't just unusual, it was calculated. Rogan knew the risk. Mel wasn't playing the podcast game. He was on a mission, and Rogan wasn't willing to be part of the message anymore. Things got even more intense when Gibson turned the topic to faith and religion, a subject he's always spoken about with fire. But this time, he went beyond personal belief. He launched into a critique of the Vatican, suggesting corruption and betrayal at the highest levels. He questioned the current Pope's leadership and accused church leaders of turning their backs on truth. He spoke of secret agendas, spiritual warfare, and said things like, "The real church isn't in Rome anymore." Rogan, who usually stays out of religious debates, went noticeably quiet. He let Gibson speak, but didn't offer the usual back and forth. Instead, he threw in vague phrases like, "That's heavy," and "Man, you've really thought about this." For many watching, this was the moment the energy dropped completely. Gibson wasn't ranting, he was preaching. And while that's his right, it was clear Rogan didn't want to be the platform that launched a theological revolution. The podcast was no longer a conversation. It had turned into a pulpit. And Rogan? He was just looking for the nearest exit. The final straw came after one more round of Mel's "they don't want you to know" talk. This time about secret societies and global control. It was subtle, but Rogan made his move. He ended the interview without the typical wind down or preview of what's coming next. No promo, no plugs, just a polite, "Thanks for coming in, man," and a quick cut to black. The internet noticed. Fast. Clips flooded Reddit and YouTube. Fans debated whether Rogan made the right call. "He's let people say worse," some argued. Others pointed out how carefully he's had to tread in recent years. Spotify, lawsuits, misinformation concerns, it's all added weight to every episode. And Gibson? He didn't clarify or apologize. He just went quiet. No follow-ups. No damage control. The silence only amplified the buzz. What wasn't said became more powerful than what aired. For a guy who built his brand on open dialogue and zero filters, it's not often Joe Rogan pulls the plug on an interview. But during his sit-down with Mel Gibson, he did just that. And the ripple effects still haven't settled. What we saw was more than just a tense conversation. It was a live moment of real-time decision-making where Rogan had to weigh his values, freedom of speech, open dialogue, against the potential consequences of what was being said. Mel Gibson wasn't just going off script. He was building a narrative that could easily spiral, blending medical claims, conspiracy, and religious criticism in a way that even Rogan couldn't keep in check. Let's be honest, Rogan has heard worse. He's hosted Alex Jones, he's waded through vaccine debates, and he's sat through hours of wild claims. But there was something different about Gibson's delivery. It wasn't just controversial. It was relentless, almost like a speech, with no space for Rogan to breathe, push back, or even joke it off. And maybe that's the line. Not the content itself, but the loss of control. Rogan isn't a news anchor. He's a conversationalist. When the conversation turns into a monologue wrapped in fire, his role disappears. And with that, so does the safety net of "we're just talking." For fans, the moment was divisive. Some praised Rogan for taking a stand. Others accused him of censorship or playing it safe to protect Spotify deals. But here's the truth. Every platform has limits, even the ones built on being limitless. And Gibson? His silence after the episode speaks volumes. He didn't walk it back, but he didn't press forward either. Maybe even he realized the podcast table wasn't the place for that level of fire. In the end, the question isn't whether Rogan was right or wrong to end the interview. The question is, are we seeing the edge of uncensored media in real time? Was this a one-off moment? Or a sign that even Joe Rogan has a line that shouldn't be crossed? Let us know in the comments. Was this self-censorship or self-awareness? And more importantly, what would you have done in Joe's seat?